Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. From the outside, their life looked flawless. Emily often caught strangers smiling at her when she walked through the park. One hand rested on her rounded belly, the other intertwined with Daniel's. To everyone else, they looked like the dream couple, a glowing pregnant wife, a doting husband who never left her side, and a future that seemed coated in gold. But perfection is sometimes only skin deep. On a crisp Saturday morning, Emily sat at the kitchen island, sipping chamomile tea. The soft hum of the refrigerator and the occasional chirp of birds from the open window created a cocoon of peace. Daniel was frying eggs, moving with an ease that made her heart swell. "You're spoiling me," she teased, watching him flip an egg with practiced confidence. Daniel glanced over his shoulder, flashing that boyish grin that had first won her heart years ago. "You deserve it. You're growing a whole human in there." Emily laughed, her hand automatically moving to her belly. "She kicks like she's ready to run a marathon." "Or he," Daniel said, raising an eyebrow. They had decided to wait for the delivery room surprise, but he always teased her with he. They shared a smile, the kind that made people believe love stories never cracked. Later that day, Emily sat flipping through the baby clothes she had bought. Tiny socks, miniature hats. She imagined Daniel holding their baby, imagined the moment she'd placed the child into his arms. But as her daydreams spun, her gaze drifted to Daniel on the couch. His phone buzzed and he grabbed it almost too quickly. She noticed how his thumb lingered over the screen, how his expression flickered, a fleeting shadow before he forced a smile back on his face. "Work again?" she asked lightly. He looked up. "Yeah. Just Steve needing some numbers. Nothing important." She nodded, trying to believe it. After all, Daniel worked in finance. Random weekend emails weren't unusual. Still, something about the way he had shifted his body, as though shielding the screen from her, tugged at her instincts. She shook the thought away. Hormones, she told herself. Her doctor had warned her that emotions during pregnancy could feel amplified. Maybe this was one of those times. That evening, they hosted a small dinner with friends. Laughter filled the room, glasses clinked, and plates of pasta disappeared quickly. Their closest friends toasted to the future parents, and Emily leaned into Daniel, basking in the glow. But between jokes and stories she caught snippets. "Man, you've been so busy lately," one friend said to Daniel. "Yeah," another chimed in. "Every time I call, you're tied up." Daniel chuckled, brushing it off with practiced ease. "Work's been insane. You know how it is." Emily laughed along, but inside something tightened. Busy. Always busy. She thought back to late nights, to missed dinners, to the phone he never seemed to leave unattended anymore. As the night ended and guests left, Emily leaned against the door, watching Daniel clear the table. "You were quiet tonight," she said. He shrugged, avoiding her eyes. "Just tired. That's all." She wanted to press further, but instead she nodded and began stacking plates. Later, lying in bed, Emily stared at the ceiling. Daniel's soft snores filled the room, steady and reassuring. She reached over, touching his arm, reminding herself that this was the man she had chosen, the man who had promised her forever. Her mind whispered doubts, but her heart begged her to hush them. "Stop overthinking," she murmured to herself. "Everything is perfect." Yet, as the night deepened, one memory replayed, the flicker in his eyes when he looked at his phone. The slight pause, like a crack in an otherwise perfect painting. The next morning, Emily woke to the smell of coffee. Daniel had already set out breakfast, cheerful as ever. "Morning, sleepyhead," he said, kissing her forehead. She smiled, trying to push away the unease. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep," he replied casually. "Figured I'd get a head start on the day." As they ate, his phone buzzed again. He reached for it quickly, excusing himself to the other room. Emily stared at the untouched toast on her plate. The hum of the refrigerator felt louder than yesterday. The clink of his footsteps in the hallway echoed heavier. When he returned, he was all smiles. "Just Steve again. Sorry." "Daniel," she asked gently, "is everything okay?" "Of course," he said without hesitation, placing a kiss on her cheek. "Everything is perfect." But Emily knew perfection had edges. And when something is too perfect, even the smallest crack is impossible to ignore. She told herself not to dwell, but her heart, her intuition, whispered otherwise. And in that quiet moment, as Daniel hummed to himself in the kitchen, Emily realized perfection wasn't always what it seemed. The glow of their perfect picture began to dim in small, almost invisible ways. It started with pauses, the kind that stretched a second too long after a question. Emily noticed Daniel's silences more than his words. One evening, curled on the couch with her swollen ankles propped up, Emily asked, "Do you ever think about what kind of dad you'll be?" Daniel glanced up from his phone. "Of course." "And?" she pressed with a smile. He shrugged. "I'll try my best. Isn't that what matters?" Something in his tone felt flat, detached. Emily laughed lightly, brushing it off. "I'm sure you'll be amazing." But the warmth she expected from him, a playful joke and affectionate reassurance, never came. Dinners became quieter. The clatter of forks filled the silence more than conversation did. Emily would bring up baby names and Daniel would nod without comment. She'd ask about his day and he'd reply with a single word, "Busy." When she nudged, he'd sigh, sometimes too heavily. "Daniel, I feel like you're distant," she whispered one night. He rubbed his temples. You're imagining things. You know you've been extra sensitive lately. Pregnancy hormones, remember?" The words stung. She bit her lip, lowering her eyes. Maybe he was right. Maybe it was the hormones. Still, her gut screamed otherwise. At her next prenatal appointment, Emily confided in the doctor. "Is it normal," she asked cautiously, "to feel like your partner is slipping away during pregnancy?" The doctor smiled kindly. "Pregnancy can be a stressful adjustment for both of you. Sometimes partners feel overwhelmed. Communication is key." Emily nodded, but as she drove home, her thoughts twisted. She wanted to believe stress explained it. Yet deep down it felt like something more. That night, Daniel turned in bed, his back to her. "Good night," he muttered. Emily lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The silence felt heavy, suffocating. And for the first time, she wondered if her perfect picture was already starting to fade. The shift became undeniable when Daniel's phone turned into a fortress. At first it was subtle. He carried it everywhere, even to the bathroom. Notifications lit up the screen, and his hand flew to it before Emily could glance. One evening, Emily reached across the couch for the phone, intending to check the time. Daniel snapped his head up. "What are you doing?" She froze. "Just the time." He forced a chuckle, slipping the phone into his pocket. "You could have just asked me." The air thickened. Late at night, when Emily pretended to sleep, she'd hear the faint buzz of messages. The glow of his phone illuminated his face as he typed furiously, lips curved into a faint smile, a smile he hadn't given her in weeks. Her chest tightened. "Who are you texting?" she asked one night, keeping her tone casual. "Steve," he replied without hesitation. "At midnight? Deadlines don't sleep." He turned away, shutting off the phone. But Emily's instinct screamed. One morning she found his phone on the counter, face down. For a split second she considered flipping it. Her hand hovered, heart racing. But before she could act, Daniel appeared, snatching it up. "Looking for something?" She forced a smile. "Just my tea mug." He studied her, his gaze sharp, before pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Relax, Em." But Emily couldn't relax. The phone wasn't just a device anymore, it was a wall between them. And walls, she knew, always hid something. At brunch with her friends, Emily's laughter felt hollow. She pushed scrambled eggs around her plate while the others chatted. Her friend Claire leaned closer. "Is everything okay with you and Daniel?" Emily blinked. "Why do you ask?" Claire hesitated. "I don't know, he just seems different." "Different how?" "Distant. Like he's hiding something." Emily's heart pounded. "Maybe it's just stress." Another friend, Lila, chimed in. "Don't overthink it, Em. Men get weird when babies are on the way. It's probably nothing." But Claire's eyes lingered on Emily, filled with quiet concern. That evening, Emily told Daniel what Claire had said. He scoffed. "Your friends need to mind their own business." "But." "No buts. You're letting them put nonsense in your head." His tone was sharper than she'd ever heard. Emily recoiled, stunned. As he stormed out of the room, her friends' whispers echoed in her ears. And for the first time she wondered, were they seeing something she couldn't? It was nearly 1 a.m. when Emily stirred awake. The bed beside her was empty. She tiptoed into the hallway, following the faint murmur of Daniel's voice. He was in the kitchen, phone pressed to his ear. His voice was soft, softer than she'd heard in months. "I miss you too," he whispered. Emily's blood ran cold. Her foot creaked on the wooden floor. Daniel spun around, eyes wide. "Who were you talking to?" she demanded. "Steve," he lied without hesitation. "Go back to bed, Em." But the tenderness in his tone hadn't been for her. She knew it in her bones. Daniel's late nights grew frequent. "Work emergency," he'd mutter, already grabbing his keys. "Again?" Emily's voice cracked. "You think I want this?" He shot back, frustration painted across his face. "I'm doing this for us." But his explanations didn't add up. One night, she called his office out of desperation. "Daniel?" "No, he left hours ago," the receptionist said kindly. Emily's heart sank. He had lied. Again. That night, he returned home past midnight. "You weren't at the office," she said flatly. He froze. "I did grab drinks with a client." "Why didn't you say that?" "Because you'd overreact." Her chest ached. "Daniel, I just want the truth." But truth, she realized, had become his favorite game to avoid. Emily started keeping track. She noted when he left, what he wore, how long he stayed out. Patterns emerged. Always work emergencies on Wednesdays. Always cologne when he returned late. Always a faint smile he tried to hide. She jotted it all down in a notebook, each entry deepening her dread. One evening, as he kissed her cheek goodbye, she inhaled. The scent wasn't his cologne, it was perfume. Her stomach churned. Doubt was no longer a whisper. It was a scream. It happened over breakfast. Daniel mentioned a new restaurant downtown. "They have that lemon tart you love," he said casually. Emily froze. "How do you know I love lemon tarts?" His face paled. "You told me once." "No, Daniel. I hate lemon." His jaw clenched, eyes darting away. And in that moment, Emily knew the detail belonged to someone else. Saturday was supposed to be his day with the guys. But when the clock ticked past midnight, Emily sat alone, staring at the door. She called his best friend Mark. "Is Daniel with you?" Pause. "No. Haven't seen him all week." Her chest tightened. "Thanks." By the time Daniel stumbled home at 2 a.m., Emily was waiting. "Where were you?" she asked quietly. He hesitated. "With Mark." Her heart shattered. "Don't lie to me, Daniel." He looked away, guilt painted across his face. And in that silence, Emily realized her world was no longer what it seemed. Emily was folding baby clothes when her phone buzzed. It was Claire. Can we talk? In person?" Claire's voice trembled. They met at a cafe downtown. Claire stirred her coffee nervously, avoiding Emily's eyes. "I wasn't sure if I should say this," Claire began. "But last night, I saw Daniel." Emily's chest tightened. "Where?" Claire swallowed hard. "At the wine bar on Fifth." "He wasn't alone." Emily's voice cracked. "Who was he with?" "A woman." They looked close. The world tilted. "Are you sure?" Claire nodded, eyes filled with sympathy. Emily forced a shaky smile, but inside, her heart was shattering. That night, Emily confronted Daniel. "Did you go to Fifth Avenue last night?" He blinked. "No." "Why?" Her hands trembled. "Because someone saw you there. With a woman." His jaw clenched. "Your friends are trying to ruin us. Don't let them." But his eyes betrayed him. And Emily realized, truth no longer needed proof. Emily stopped asking questions. Instead, she watched. When Daniel slipped out at night, she no longer begged him to stay. She simply noted the time, the scent on his shirt, the guilt in his eyes. Her silence became her shield. At the baby store, she smiled at strangers. At home, she cooked his meals. On the surface, nothing had changed. But inside, she was preparing. Late one night, she whispered to her unborn child, "I'll protect you. No matter what." Her hand rested on her belly, steadying herself. She didn't know what she would find. But she knew one day soon she would discover the truth. And when she did, she had to be ready. It was a Tuesday. Daniel had said he'd be late again. But Emily, exhausted, decided to skip yoga and come home early. The moment she opened the door, something felt wrong. 2 coffee cups on the counter. One with lipstick. Her pulse quickened. She stepped into the living room and froze. A woman's jacket lay draped over the chair. A delicate silver earring glistened on the floor. Emily's chest heaved. She moved toward the bedroom. Her hand hovered over the doorknob, shaking violently. And then she heard it, laughter. A woman's laughter. Emily pushed open the door. The scene seared into her memory instantly. Daniel, shirt half unbuttoned. A woman in his arms. They froze, eyes wide with horror. "Emily," Daniel stammered, scrambling to his feet. The woman clutched the sheets, face pale. Emily's vision blurred. "How could you?" Her voice cracked, echoing through the room. Tears burned her eyes, but anger pushed them back. Daniel reached for her. "It's not what it looks like." Don't you dare, she snapped, stepping back. Because it was exactly what it looked like. Emily's stomach dropped as she recognized the woman. Rachel, she whispered. It was her co-worker. Someone she had introduced to Daniel months ago. Rachel's face crumpled. Emily, Don't, Emily hissed. Don't you dare speak to me. Daniel's face turned red. It was a mistake. Emily's voice trembled with fury. A mistake that's been happening for months. Rachel grabbed her jacket, bolting past Emily in silence. The betrayal cut twice as deep. Not only her husband, but a woman she had trusted. Emily collapsed onto the couch, hands shaking uncontrollably. Her world spun in fragments. The jacket, the earring, the whispers, the lies. Daniel hovered nearby. Emily, please. Listen to me. She laughed bitterly. Listen? After all the lies. I didn't mean for this to happen, he pleaded. Her chest burned. And what about me? What about our child? Did we mean nothing? Tears finally spilled. She pressed her hands to her belly, whispering, I'm so sorry, baby. Because heartbreak wasn't hers alone. It belonged to the child who would never know the world she thought they'd built. For hours the fight raged. You've been lying to me for months, Emily shouted. Daniel's voice cracked. I felt lonely, Em. You were always focused on the baby. Her jaw dropped. So your solution was her? I was weak, he muttered. No, Emily snapped, eyes blazing. You were selfish. He sank into a chair, head in his hands. I don't want to lose you. She stared at him, heart torn between fury and despair. You already have, she whispered. Over the following days, Daniel tried everything. He blamed stress. He blamed the pressure of impending fatherhood. He even blamed Emily's pregnancy. You changed, he said softly one evening. Everything became about the baby. Emily's voice shook with rage. Because I am having a baby? Our baby. He reached for her hand. She pulled away. I love you, he whispered desperately. Her eyes narrowed. You love yourself. And in that moment, his excuses felt as flimsy as paper. Emily stared at her reflection in the mirror. Dark circles. Swollen eyes. A hollow ache inside her chest. This wasn't the life she had dreamed of. She turned to Daniel, who stood in the doorway. Emily, please. We can fix this. She shook her head. You didn't make a mistake, Daniel. You made a choice. Again and again. His lips parted, but no words came. She steadied herself, hand on her belly. I can forgive mistakes. But I can't forgive betrayal. Her voice was firm now. Final. And with those words, Emily crossed the threshold of no return. The morning after her breaking point, Emily woke with swollen eyes but a strangely steady heart. The storm inside her had quieted, replaced by something stronger, resolve. She moved through the house like a shadow, gathering what mattered. Baby clothes folded neatly in a drawer. The tiny crib she had assembled weeks before. Her prenatal vitamins lined up on the counter. These weren't just things. They were promises. She whispered to her unborn child, we don't need anyone who chooses lies over us. Daniel found her packing. What are you doing? His voice cracked. Emily didn't look up. Leaving. He stepped forward. You can't just walk away. We're a family. Her hands froze over the zipper of her bag. Slowly she lifted her gaze, eyes blazing. You made sure we weren't a family the moment you chose her. Emily, please. I'll stop. I'll prove it. She shook her head. No. I don't need you to prove anything. I need you to face what you've done. For days Daniel tried to win her back. Flowers appeared on the table. Apologies whispered in the hallway. Promises of therapy, of change, of doing better. But Emily had crossed a line she couldn't uncross. Every time he said, I love you, she heard Rachel's laughter. Every time he touched her arm, she remembered the lipstick-stained coffee cup. Her friends rallied around her. You're stronger than you think, Claire told her one night, holding her hand. Emily smiled weakly. I don't feel strong. But you are. You're protecting your baby. That takes more courage than you know. Slowly, Emily began to rebuild. She scheduled doctor appointments without Daniel. She attended birthing classes with Claire by her side. She decorated the nursery in soft yellows and greens, filling it with warmth only she and her child would know. She would stand in the center of the room, hand resting on her belly, whispering, You'll never wonder if you're enough. Because you already are. One evening, Daniel stood in the doorway of the nursery watching her hang immobile. You're shutting me out, he said softly. Emily didn't turn. You shut yourself out. He stepped closer. I want to be here. For you. For the baby. Her hands stilled. She turned slowly, her eyes steady. You had that chance. You threw it away. Daniel's lips parted, but no words came. Emily turned back to the crib, adjusting the mobile. This baby deserves a father who chooses us every day. Not sometimes. Not when it's convenient. Every day. That night, Emily lay in bed, alone, yet more at peace than she had been in months. She realized strength wasn't the absence of fear. Strength was moving forward despite it. And in that moment she knew, she wasn't just surviving betrayal. She was rising above it. Her unborn child kicked gently as if agreeing. Emily smiled through tears. We'll be okay, baby. I promise. The day Emily walked away was quiet, almost too ordinary. She stood at the doorway with her packed bags, her belly heavy with life, her heart heavy with loss. Daniel hovered nearby. Emily, please. Don't do this. She took a deep breath, meeting his eyes one last time. Trust isn't something you break and rebuild overnight. It's gone, Daniel. And without it, so are we. He reached for her hand, but she pulled back. This isn't about me anymore. It's about our child. And I won't raise them in a home built on lies. Outside, the air was crisp, the world startlingly alive. Emily inhaled deeply, the weight lifting with every step she took away from him. Claire was waiting by the car. She opened the trunk for Emily's bags and wrapped her in a tight hug. You're not alone, Claire whispered. For the first time in weeks, Emily believed it. As the weeks passed, Emily poured her energy into preparing for motherhood. She read parenting books late at night, painted tiny footprints on canvas for the nursery, and practiced breathing exercises. Every heartbeat inside her belly reminded her of her purpose. Daniel called often. Sometimes begging, sometimes angry, sometimes crying. But Emily no longer wavered. She answered only once, her voice calm but final. Our child deserves peace. If you truly love them, you'll let me give them that. Silence stretched on the other end of the line. Then a broken whisper, I'm sorry. Emily ended the call, tears sliding down her cheeks, not for what she lost but for what she was protecting. When labor finally came, it was long and exhausting. Emily gripped Claire's hand, sweat dripping down her face. I can't, she gasped. Yes, you can, Claire urged. You already have. Hours later, Emily held her newborn against her chest. Tiny fingers curled around hers. Tears of exhaustion and relief mingled on her cheeks. Welcome to the world, she whispered, kissing the baby's forehead. It's just us now. And that's enough. Months passed. Emily adjusted to sleepless nights and endless feedings. Some days were hard, but each time her baby smiled, she felt a strength deeper than anything betrayal had ever taken from her. She no longer thought of Daniel with bitterness. Only with clarity. He was a chapter in her story. But he wasn't the whole book. One evening, as she rocked her baby by the window, she reflected on her journey. Trust had broken. Love had shattered. But in the ruins, something stronger had grown. Her baby cooed softly, eyes wide and innocent. Emily kissed their forehead. You saved me, she whispered. You gave me reason to start over. Emily shared her story online one night, typing through tears. She expected judgment. Instead, messages of support flooded in. Women who had been betrayed. Mothers who had chosen strength. Strangers who found courage in her words. Her story went viral. Not because it was tragic, but because it was real, raw, painful, and ultimately empowering. She realized betrayal didn't define her. Strength did. The final image of Emily's story was not of a broken woman, but of a mother standing tall, her child in her arms, her gaze fixed forward. Because when trust breaks, it doesn't have to break you. Sometimes it sets you free. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe, and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.